All right, let's jump right in. We're going to explore a really cool idea today, one that comes from a unique interpretation of the Quran. It basically asks us to look at our spiritual lives through the lens of, well, photosynthesis. Yeah, the same thing plants do. So, let's start with this. Just think about it for a second. What if your soul was a tree? With roots deep in the earth, but branches stretching up, always reaching for the sky. It's a really powerful metaphor, right? And it's pretty much the heart of everything we're going to talk about. I mean, if your soul is a tree, it can't just sit there. It has to grow, right? And for that to happen, it needs a way to take in energy from the outside, some kind of light, and turn it into actual life, into fuel, into sustenance. And that's where this really fascinating concept comes in, something the source material calls cosmic photosynthesis. It's this incredible framework for understanding spiritual growth by, you guessed it, mapping it directly onto the biology we all learned back in science class. So the whole idea is that spiritual growth isn't just some abstract, fuzzy feeling. No, it's a real, tangible process. It's about taking in divine energy and actively converting it into righteous action. You could even call it the fruit of our spiritual lives. And to really get how that works, we have to start with the basic ingredients. Okay, so what are the inputs? What does this process need to get started? Well, just like a plant needs certain things from its environment to live, this spiritual model says our souls need a couple of fundamental things to even begin to grow. First up, let's start with the science we all know. Sunlight. It's the engine, right? The raw, external energy that powers the whole process and lets a plant literally make its own food. So what's the spiritual equivalent? Well, in this model, sunlight maps directly to the light of Allah. And this isn't just a random comparison, it's anchored right in the Quran, in a verse that describes Allah as the ultimate source of all light, the spiritual energy that lights up the heavens and the earth. All right, ingredient number 2, water. Think about it. Water is the great facilitator. It's the medium for, well, everything. It dissolves nutrients, transports them, makes all the chemical reactions possible. That amazing energy from the sun, totally useless to the plant without water. And the spiritual parallel here is divine mercy. It's seen as this all-encompassing medium where spiritual life can actually happen. And again, the source material draws this beautiful connection using a Quranic verse that says every living thing was made from water. It's a way of linking that physical life giver to the metaphysical one, mercy. So let's put that all together. Here's our cosmic blueprint. We have sunlight, which is the light of Allah. We have water, which is divine mercy. And then there's one more piece, carbon dioxide, or the carbon itself, the actual building block. That's mapped to our earthly form, the clay we're made from, which really grounds this whole spiritual process in our physical bodies. Okay, so we've got the ingredients, but, just throwing them all together doesn't do anything. You need something to kickstart the reaction, a catalyst, something that can take that raw divine energy and actually help turn it into something usable. For a plant, that catalyst is chlorophyll, that green pigment that's so good at capturing sunlight. In our spiritual model, the prophets are seen as playing that exact same role. They are the catalysts who make it possible for us, for humanity, to process that divine light and mercy and turn it into real, tangible action. And this is where the model gets super specific and really interesting. It points to Adam, who was created from clay, as representing carbon fixation. That moment the divine spirit gets fixed into an earthly body. Then you have the prophet Yasha, whose sacrifice is interpreted as creating a pure packet of spiritual energy, almost like the ATP molecule in biology, the energy currency of the cell. This spiritual ATP is what fuels the next steps. So we've got our inputs, we've got our catalysts. What's next? The outputs, of course. What does this whole cosmic photosynthesis thing actually create? And what happens to it once it's made? Well, the main product is righteous deeds. Think of this as the spiritual version of glucose. It's stored, usable energy. It's the good fruit that comes from that good tree. But there's always a flip side, isn't there? There's an opposing force here, and that's Shaitan, or Satan, who represents decay, spiritual entropy. Just like sugar gets used up or breaks down, Shaitan's role is to make us forget the source of our energy, to make us forget Allah, causing all that beautiful spiritual energy to just dissipate. And there's this one verse from the Quran that just wraps this whole analogy up so perfectly. It talks about how a good word is like a good tree. It's firmly rooted, its branches reach for the sky, and it produces its fruit. But, and this is the key, it does so only by permission of its Lord. It's a reminder that the tree isn't the source, it's just the processor of the light and water that made it all possible in the first place. So, we've walked through this whole amazing cosmic process, right? From divine light all the way to stored spiritual energy in the form of good deeds. But the model doesn't just leave us there. It brings everything back home to a really personal and, I think, a really crucial final question. And the question is this: if truth is energy and our righteous deeds are literally stored light, then how do we become luminous on the day of judgment? How do we take in and store so much of that light through our actions that we ourselves begin to shine when it counts the most? That is a pretty amazing thing to think about.